did those connections, those experiences help you post-college with the founding of Feld Technologies and that sort of, once you leave school and decide what you're going to do next, how did those early experiences influence your first choices?
Sure. So Feld Technologies was started sort of out of this experience. While I was in school, I was essentially still doing some consulting work for them or working part-time for them. And I started having other people would come to me and say, hey, can you help me with this software or that software? And when I say other people, they were business people in Boston that somehow found out about me through random connections. There was no marketing, there was no plan. It was just like I had a little bit of a reputation that had developed. Friend of a friend, hey, there's this guy that can do this or that. And I think it was my junior year, I went home for Christmas break, or I went to California, to Los Angeles for Christmas break with a fraternity brother. And his stepfather had a dental practice. And the dental practice was not your ordinary dental practice. He had like 100 doctors. He made about $10 million a year, $15 million a year. And what he did was he was in a difficult part of LA, and he ran basically a program where he serviced all of the union employees. And he had contracts with the unions, and as a result, he got paid to basically clean people's teeth and replace teeth and do root canals. And he built essentially an assembly line of dentists who did a good job. It was solid dentistry. It wasn't.
But dentistry and service businesses definitely aren't known for scalability.
No.
But yet
he figured out how to scale it. And he had done this all entirely with paper. He created a call center before people really knew what a call center was, where he'd call these people, and he had a room full of people that were pulling files from dates and all this sort of stuff. And the end result of all of that was I hung out with him, and he was starting to computerize it. And I said, Peter, I could probably do this. And he's like, what the hell? And he took a chance, and I upped my rates from $10 an hour to $25 an hour.
So Feld Technologies,
and that was,
junior year, now you're making
that was
25.
really the inception of it. And I wrote software for automating his practice. It was a period of time, it was all PC-based. A period of time we're writing PC-based software for, a 100-person organization that was networked was not easy to do. And in 1999, they were still using the software because I got a phone call from one of the friends of mine that still worked for him saying, do we have a year 2000 problem? And it turned out they did, where, when 1987, I never thought that they'd still be using the software in 2000, and all the date codes had 2 digits. And so, all of a sudden when it clicked over, a lot of the date fields, because they weren't formatted thoughtfully, would think it was 1900 instead of 2000.
Absolutely.
And so, we figured out a way to solve for that. We hired somebody to go in and clean it all up. But the dynamic of it was that was really the start of the company, and I never really thought about working for somebody. So it wasn't
even on the radar. Never going to own what I'm going to work on. Why?
I just did it, but I never thought hard about I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a company. I just started it, and what happened was I was fascinated with this idea of solving problems. I loved having the flexibility to figure out the problems, not just for the people I was doing this work for, but also sort of this notion of what is this business thing and how does it evolve. So I had the opportunity to work on the technical problem of actually writing the software, the business problem of figuring out the solution to their business problem, and then kind of the meta problem of actually creating a business. I had a partner join me in 1987, and his name was Dave Jilk, and he and I, essentially at that point, we capitalized the company formally, and we capitalized...
And the company's business was custom software for business to business.
Custom software, mostly business to business.
In the early 90s.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. And
so you capitalize it.
$10, 10 shares of stock. $1 a share.
You took it out public to the market?
No, I got 6 shares, he got 3, and my dad got 1. My dad was an advisor, a board member, a mentor, and he signed a $20,000 credit line. Okay, so he provided essentially some backstop financing for us. We hired a bunch of people in the summer of 1987, a bunch of people that were college students, friends of ours, et cetera. We scaled up the business, and in June we lost about $10,000.
That's June, though.
That's June. And in July we lost about $8,000. Okay. Maybe it was $9,000, I don't know. But we lost almost the whole $20,000 in those 2 months. And we realized we couldn't keep doing that. That wasn't an effective strategy.
Negative cash flow is not sustainable.
Well, we had $20,000. Now all of a sudden we're into our credit line, $18,000. You wake up one day and you're like, we're into our credit line, $18,000. This is not cool. Mm-hmm. And we fired everybody. We got out of the office lease and we retrenched. And from that point forward, for 7 years, the company made money every month. Some months we made, a couple $100. Some months we made $100,000 of profit. but we were cash flow positive from that point forward because we really realized that to be in business, one of our first precepts as a company was we had to make a profit.
If you can't sustain it, what's the point?
That's right.